Hello everyone. Today we are starting with Geography third chapter from 6th standard. So today, as most of our discussion members are absent, I will be taking the entire session. Okay, we'll start with the class. So the class goes like this. So the third chapter is landforms and life. The first thing is we have to understand what are the major topic that we are going to learn from the chapter. So here we have the major topic as landforms. So they are talking about three different major types of landforms: mountains, plateaus, plains. And they are also kind of discussing deserts separately as a landform. Now today we'll discuss what are the features of mountain, how plateaus will differ from mountain and plains, and so on, right? So before starting this lesson and the major heading, I noticed one interesting quote. See here. So this is the interesting quote where my attention drawn to here. So what is it? They are saying, free from the burden of human beings, may the earth with many heights, slopes and great plains, bearing plants, endued with varied powers, spread out for us and show us her riches. The earth is my mother and I am her child. So this has been mentioned in Atharva Veda. It's called as hymn to the earth. See, this last line we can use in any of the papers, even in ethics. When you talk about environment, such a beautiful line they have mentioned. The earth is my mother and I am her child. True, right? Okay. So this might be a prelims question also. That where will you figure out the hymn for earth? In which Veda? Atharva Veda, right? Okay, this was interesting fact. So apart from that, we'll understand major heading. I already told we'll be understanding very important landforms today. So we are going for landforms. Good. So with this, there is one important term, or the term which has to be known to everyone, is altitude. What is this altitude? It's the height of an object above sea level. So from sea level, what is the height we have? That is said to be altitude. For example, they'll be saying like Bangalore is so much height, or from a sea level this much altitude it is staying, like that, or the mountain is having so much of altitude, right? So this one is one term we should be knowing. So we'll see introduction, how nicely they are introducing. Humans, like most mammals, live on land. Land, as you may have noticed, have many forms and features. Its appearance changes a lot from one region to another. Suppose that you are traveling by road from the region known as Chota Nagpur in Jharkhand, reach Prayagraj in Uttar Pradesh, and go on Almera in Uttarakhand. On the way, you will see very different landscapes. In fact, you will encounter three major landforms. What are those? So they are just saying, if you travel from one place to another place, you are going to experience different landforms. So that is what is the introduction they have given. This kind of introduction we can use in essay and ethics papers as well. So yes, they are just introducing. So first, what is landform? We should all know we are talking about the chapter called landforms. What is landform? It's just a physical feature of a earth surface. Okay, it's just a, what is it? It's a physical feature of a earth surface. So, and it contains like mountains, plateaus and plains. Okay. These landforms have different climates also. If you remember, yesterday class we were discussing about latitudes and we were saying different latitude have a different climate. Now see, based on the different landform, again different climate will be experienced in the same latitude. Say for example, a mountain is located in the equator and also plateau will be located in the equator and the plain also. I said in the similar latitude same climate will be there, but It will vary based on the landform, whether it is mountain or a plateau or a plain. So we'll see how it is changing. Why is it changing? Such an interesting thing. Right, yes. And also, one thing, when you notice mountain, plateau and plain, we should be knowing there will be a climate change, flora change and fauna change. We already learnt what is flora, plants, what is fauna, animals from previous chapter. Now we'll first understand first landform type, that is mountains. So what are mountains? Mountains are higher than any other surrounding landscape. So these are of course higher than other landscape, and they will be having greater altitude comparatively. They will be having, see, if it is a mountain, so if it is a mountain, it will be having a higher altitude. First thing, height is greater. And see, this is a slope, right? This is called a slope. This is very steep. They will be having steep slopes. And see, this is summit. Summit become very narrow. See, very narrow. This is a mountain. They are saying three features. It will be having a broader base, steeper slope and narrow summit. This is a feature of mountain. You would have seen, but you never tried of defining it. Now we are defining, that's all. Okay, broader base, steep slope, narrow summit. Depending on the height, some mountains cover with snow. If it is too much tall, there will be a ice coverage here. In case the altitude is less, see, this is also mountain only, but altitude wise it's less, then the snow, whatever covered here, will get melt and become a rivers for us. Right, that's why we'll be saying Himalayan mountains is source for many of the rivers. Right, now you understood. If it is so tall, it can't melt, ice can't melt. But if it's little tall, the ice can melt and easily give rise to rivers. So because in summer temperature will be higher, we know, right? See, here beautifully they have experienced or showed. See, because it is very tall, ice is covered and it is not melting. Because we all know as you go up, temperature reduces. Right. So, when it is very less height comparatively, again it is having a narrow summit and steep slope. But whatever snow will be covered here will go like a river because ice get melted. Simple thing. So that's how we get our rivers. So other highlands are also there. They also will have a steep slope but lesser steep. See, if it is something like this or mostly like this. Now I can't say it as completely mountain, but I can't also say it as a plateau or plain. Then what I can say this as? This is a hill. It is having comparatively less height or altitude and less steep. See, this is not that steep as mountain, but lesser steep and rounded top. I told for mountain it should be narrow summit, but whereas for hill will be having rounded top, kind of round. You say this Ooty, Kodaikanal, what are these? Hill stations. So they are also kind of elevated landforms but not mountains because they don't have steep slope. I mean lesser steep, and also they don't have narrow summit. Instead they have a rounded tops. You should be knowing the basic difference, okay? So then I told you, so this if it is lesser height in the mountain, the ice get melted and you get what? A river. That is called as what? It's called as river formation. And in the mountains and all, the precipitation will happen in the form of snow, not water, because it's already very tall. And as I told, as you go upper from a earth's surface, temperature falls. So it won't come as the water, but it comes as a snow or a hailstorm. That is what they mentioned here. Precipitation. Water from the atmosphere reaching the ground in any form. It might be rain, snow, and hails are the most common forms of precipitation. Very nicely said. Okay. See, such beautiful mountains has been shown. Now here comes the tricky part. These mountains, where is it located, which country they are belong to is what you have to memorize. Why so? Because in UPSC PYQs, they have asked you multiple times the match the following kind of questions. Mount Everest is in, it's a question for you. So Mount Aconcagua, it's in Andes mountain. Where is it located? South America. Mount Kilimanjaro, located in Africa. Mount Blanc, it's in Europe. And Mount Everest is in Himalayas, right? So these are some of the things. And we know the term called mountain ranges. If there is a continuation of mountains, then we call it as a mountain ranges. So there are many mountain ranges, as in Asia it is Himalayas, Alps in Europe, Andes in South America. Already we learnt Andes in South America, where Mount Aconcagua is located. We saw from the above picture, right? This one. And now other thing we are learning is Alps. It's in Europe. This is an important PYQ related part. Okay, that's how and that's why we should be reading NCERT. So yeah, I mentioned most of the points here. So then whatever forest we see on the mountain, we call it as mountain forest. So now I told you we should be knowing what is mountain and what is flora there and fauna there, right? Now flora, plants we are talking. How this will be there? These plants will grow on the slopes, right? And these will be having a needle-like leaves. You would have seen like Christmas trees, right? Or Bahubali movie, you would have seen the trees, right? So such kind of trees will be there. Needle-like leaves will be there. Why so? Why? Because so that they can somehow withstand or withhold the temperature that they have kind of grasped. They don't want temperature to escape, the heat to escape, because it will be very cold. So what they have given here, we'll read. Mountain with a tall and sharp peaks like the Himalayas are relatively young. Now they are talking about young and old mountains. So Himalayas are young mountains because they are still forming. They are still forming. Whereas Aravalis are one of the older mountains. Again, these are four mountains. Don't confuse what is four mountains and all. We will see in future what is this. But these are also mountains which are older compared to Himalayas. Right. Why they become older? Because they stopped growing and they started eroding in return. So because of which we are kind of getting more minerals from the Aravalis, and many minerals are found from Aravali range. Right. So mountain forest I already told. So in the slopes you will be finding needle-like leaves containing trees. And somewhere in the top where nothing can be grown, these mosses and lichens will grow. Now your work is get back to the Google and check how mosses looks and lichens looks. Because if you are studying something, you should see how they look like. These are plants. Okay? These are flora. Got it? Now see one more interesting point here. About what? About Kalidasa's Kumara Sambhava. So what they are saying, here are two verses from long poem by Kalidasa, who lived at least 1500 years ago and often considered to be greatest poet of ancient India. The poem Kumara Sambhava begins with an invocation to Himalayas. So this is a simplified translation from the Sanskrit what they have given. In the north lies Himalayas, the lord of mountains, like a living god who measures the earth and stretches from the western to the eastern ocean. From it the wind comes down carrying spray from descending Ganga. shaking the deodar trees, opening the peacock tail feathers, and cooling the mountain people after they hunt deer. So, see, there is one more prelims question here. From ancient India, they are talking about Kalidasa. Kalidasa wrote Kumara Sambhava. So, who wrote Kumara Sambhava? Kalidasa. Kalidas, which book contains a note on Himalayas? Kumara Sambhava. So, yeah, this is a question. And one tree they mentioned is deodar tree. So, deodar tree is found where? In a mountain vegetation, right? So, this is one of the things that you should note. This is related to PYQ. Got it? And fauna are these things: peregrine, falcon, Himalayan tahar, so mountain hare, golden eagle, lynx, fox, leopard, yak, leopard, black bear. These are some of the fauna. Fine, not much important for our exam. So now we'll see. So the term Ganga they given, don't miss out, is an interesting fact. Now what should we not miss out? Let us have a look. Ganga is the Indian name of largest river originating in the Himalayas. In English, Ganges is also used. Nearly 2,500 km long, this river has numerous tributaries, that is other rivers joining it. So now one term they're kind of expressing what is tributaries. Tributary is the river that joins the main river. Okay. There is one more term called distributors. So that's why you first learn what is tributary. We'll say when it is joining the main river, it is tributary. When main river is spreading different branches, then it is distributary. So one keyword you learn from here. Okay. So some of them, the Yamuna and Ghagara, also originate in Himalayas. Other like Son originate from the Vindhya range to the south of Ganga plain. Now again comes a prelims question. So Ganga originates from Himalayas. Son river originates from Vindhya range. Okay, this is the important thing. Son river originates from Vindhya range, which is located in Madhya Pradesh. So see this beautiful picture. So why they are showing it and what is the importance of it? Look at this. Now I will say one term, terrace forming. Now look here. This is a mountain. I want to do cultivation. How can I cultivate if it is so steep or even if it is like lesser steeper? Let me take like this. This is a area for me to cultivate. How will I cultivate now? Because whenever it rains, all rainwater will go down taking all the fertile soil. I can't cultivate and also water will not stay there. So it's difficult to cultivate. That's why we go for terrace forming. That means we make the boundaries like this horizontally and cultivate, so that whenever rain or river water comes, it will stay in this portion, the next portion. Just like terrace we are going to do cultivation, that is called as a terrace cultivation. Here comes the prelims question. Where can you see terrace forming? In a mountain and a hilly regions, right? That's all. So and one more thing, if this is mountain, or the lower area between two hills or mountains called as valley. Exactly they have given here, right? So this is about that. Now comes one more interesting fact. They are saying don't miss it out, and definitely we are not going to miss it out. We all know Bachendri Pal. Who is she? A great woman. Started climbing mountains from a young age and led many women's climbing expeditions. She was the first Indian woman to climb Mount Everest in 1984 and was awarded Padma Shri the same year and Padma Bhushan in 2019. Who is she? Bachendri Pal. Why we wanna remember? Women can do anything. You can use it in ethics also. Women-led lessons also we can give in chapters. See, now I am able to get the inspiration from Bachendri Pal. even women can do it. It's not only men. So to show that gender parity also we can use, and such a great thing, right? And see, one more great thing is there here. Arunima Sinha, who lost a leg in an accident when she was 31, with Bachendri Pal's encouragement and training, she managed to climb Mount Everest in 2013 and went on climb the highest peak of every continent, including Mount Vinson in Antarctica. She was awarded Padma Shri in 2015. So here three questions are there. Who is the first woman to climb Mount Everest? Bachendri Pal. Who was a Indian who climbed most of the continent's highest peaks? It says Arunima Sinha. Then, which is a highest peak or a mountain of Antarctica, or where this Mount Vinson is located? Mount Vinson is from Antarctica. We already read about some of the mountains. Let us revise those. First one is Andes. Where is it? South America. Himalayas, India, Nepal and all. Okay, Mount Black, Europe. Kilimanjaro, Africa. Now, Mount Vinson from Antarctica. Mount Vinson. Okay? It's Vinson from Antarctica. Now, what are the problems at mountains? I told it is having a steep slope. When it is very steep slope, what happens? If you are removing the natural vegetation and doing mining, etc., this will become so fragile, and hence landslides will happen. So landslides will happen. That means vegetation, rock, soil on the mountain or the region will come down under the influence of gravitation. If the same thing happen on the snow covered area, that is called as avalanches. Okay. If there is sudden local flood often caused by cloud bursts, then it is called as a flash flood. So these are some of the words we should be noting. Okay, landslide explained and avalanches, yes. What is cloud burst? It's sudden rainfall, a violent rainfall. That is called as a cloud burst. Recently experienced in Himachal Pradesh, right? Yes. The next is, again, don't miss out. Of course, we won't. Many traditional communities around the world consider mountains to be sacred places and worship them. Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world, 8,849 meters, has many names. Tibetans call Chomolungma, which means Mother Goddess of the World, and worship the mountain as such. Nepal is called Sagarmata, meaning Goddess of Sky. Similarly, Mount Kailash in Tibet is held sacred by followers of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism and Bon. Such reverence for mountain summits is also found elsewhere in India as in other parts of the world. This is all about mountains. Now we see the second interesting landform, that is plateau. So plateau is kind of it is also have a slope, but not as steep as compared to mountain, and it will be having a table like structure. It is having a flat top. That is called as plateau. Okay, example, Tibetan plateau, Deccan plateau. And we know one interesting fact is Tibetan plateau is known as the roof of the world, right? Because it's the biggest plateau. See, the Tibetan plateau has an average altitude of 4,500 meters, which explains why it has the nicknamed roof of world from east to west. It is nearly 2,500 km long, the distance from Chandigarh to Kanyakumari. The Deccan Plateau of Central and South India is one of the oldest plateaus in the world, formed through volcanic activities. So our Deccan Plateau is formed by volcanic activities. So this is one question. So, and one more thing. Mountains, why mountains are needed? We get rivers, we can go for tourism, we'll get medicinal plants, etc. Similarly, what is the use of or major contribution of plateau? It is a storehouse of minerals. You'll get many minerals here because these mountains got eroded and the left out plateau will be having many minerals. As a result, mining is major activity in these plateaus. So then we see African plateau is famous for gold and diamond. We all know that. And we also know we get iron, coal, manganese from Chota Nagpur plateau of India. So this environment of a plateau varies from different continent to continent. So many of the plateaus have a rocky soil which makes them less fertile than plains. So it is not much favorable for farming. But nowadays with the use of technology we can do. But there is an exception again. I already told in Deccan Plateau it is formed because of volcanic activity which is a source of black soil. So we can easily cultivate cotton here. Cotton is well grown in black soil. That is the advantage India is having compared to other plateaus where there will be only rocky soil. So and also one is minerals will be there. One more is waterfalls. So such waterfalls, here comes the prelims question. Which waterfalls falls under which country? Victoria Falls on Zambezi River. It's in South Africa. So Victoria Falls on Zambezi River in South Africa. Hundro Falls. It's in Subarnarekha River. So it's in Odisha or Chota Nagpur Plateau. And Jog Falls is on Sharavati River, Western Ghats. So we can get three different points here. And one more is the Nokhalikai Falls, dropped on 340 meters from the Cherrapunji Plateau, Meghalaya. From Meghalaya we have Nokhali Falls. Okay, so we have four different falls they have mentioned. Such a beautiful falls they are showing here. It's a Nokhalikai Falls from Cherrapunji of Meghalaya, right? Now lastly, a major landform is plain. Plains are landforms that have an extensive flat and gentle area. Okay, they do not have any large hills or deep valleys. They are generally not more than 300 meter above the sea level. So generally 300 meter only above the sea level. So there is one more concept called flood plains. So these are type of plains formed by river originating in mountain because they will carry sediments, right? So they will form the flood plains. So these will be very fertile. These floodplains are very fertile. As a result, the plains are ideal for growing crops. So floodplains are formed because of the sediments brought by the rivers, and these are very fertile and we can do agriculture, and that will be the major economic occupation on plains. So plains also support many flora fauna as others. So this we can notice. Before that we will complete this. So yeah. So how the life will be? First civilization started here because rivers are there. It is easy to cultivate, and then we got our first civilization on plain. So one such good example is now it's Indian Ganga plain, highly populated. Yes, and it is easy to construct railways and all. Transportation is also very good in plains. So major occupation also include agriculture and fishing because river is there, fishing, and agriculture because floodplains. So and important crops will be rice, wheat, maize, barley, these things. So these are the some of the points we should be knowing. So as I told, Ganga plains is having more population, and because of that pollution is also more. So when two rivers get combined, that is called as a confluence and then flow. So for this example is see Ganga river, where it originates from a Dev Prayag. Why? Because Alakananda river from Badrinath is combining with Bhagirathi river from again Uttarakhand. So that is called as confluence. Okay. Now what else we left? So now all these things we are done, And one major landform that they are talking about is desert. Desert where the soil is, oh no, we can't cultivate anything from that soil. And we have two types of desert: cold desert and hot desert. Biggest desert is Sahara desert, which is located in Africa. And cold desert, we have one example, Gobi desert, that is in Asia. Again, it's a prelims question, where this Gobi desert located and which is it, whether it is hot desert or a cold desert. It's a cold desert located in Asia, right? So now, despite living conditions, we can't happily live in desert, but still people live there because of technological advancements and also climate resilient techniques. Okay. Yeah. So apart from that, there is one more interesting table here. So to define different landform which they used in Sangam period. So that's all about major landform. We learnt about mountain, plateaus, plains and also desert. Now how they used to differentiate in ancient India. For that they have taken the reference of Sangam literature. In Sangam literature, this is how they used to mention. For mountainous region, they used to call it as Kurunji. For grassland, Mullai. For fertile agricultural plain, Marudham. For coastal region, Neidhal. For desert, Palai. So these are the some of the points we should be memorizing for prelims. So this is all from the chapter. If any questions, please do comment. I will be answering your questions. That's all for today. Have a good day.